What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today we've got some games from the Denver Vault Tour to have a look at. It's been slightly longer than I planned, but we're here now, and that's the main thing. Huge shout out to the lovely folks at Cascade Games for recording this and giving me permission to do the commentary. Those guys are awesome. And thank you to everyone that messaged me asking when I was going to go ahead and do this. It's nice that people ask me to do this. You guys are lovely. You make me feel good. Now, on the left, we've got Neil playing his Babalunaroom the Mark Durchin deck. It is Logo, Shadows, Untamed. It's got the Pemp Seed. Doesn't have library access. Does have bait and switch. And on the right, we've got Dan with Chimera, Admin, Alchemy, Farrell, a Brobnar, Sanctum, Untamed deck. And he's got Key Charge in Untamed, plus some really good ways to go ahead and get himself some Ember. So we could be seeing a bit of Key Charge here. Now, Brobnar is probably my least favourite house to actually cast, because it can be really difficult to identify the cards, because I don't have many Brobnar decks, and I don't really like Brobnar. But I'm sure we'll be alright. Hopefully I have remembered to pop a link to both the deck lists in the description of this video, so do go and check them if you so wish. But we'll do the best we can with the camera that we've got and all of that. So, no library access and the Pemp Seed stuff going on. What I find really funny, both of these decks have multiple ways to get rid of a Nepemp Seed. I mean, over in Dan's deck, we've got Gorm of Orm, an artifact that lets you destroy an artifact. We've got Whispering Reliquary, an artifact that returns an artifact to its owner's hand. We've got a whole bunch of good stuff in both decks. And maybe that is directly as a result of the library access and the Pemp Seed combo. It may well be. So it looks like Dan's going first and he gets down a Mighty Javelin. He can sacrifice it at some point to do 4 damage to a creature. And of course, that's all he's allowed to do. Oh, now it looks like on Neil's turn, we get a Nexus coming down straight away. It's going to be useful for using your opponent's artifacts when you reap. And it seems like that's all we've actually got. Ah, that's a better camera, ladies and gentlemen. That's a little bit clearer. We see Lady Maxina coming down, stunning a creature. And I'll tell you what, you are allowed, after the very first turn of the game, you are allowed to play more than one card. We've just not seen it so far. Now, Neil does get rid of the stun on Nexus and plays 1 Dodger, and we're right back, 4 turns, 4 cards played. This is one of the slower starts we've seen. So we do see a Loot the Bodies come down. You gain an Ember each time an enemy creature is destroyed this turn. Oh, and I do like Iron Obelisk. That means that your opponent's keys cost 1 more to forge. That is absolutely huge. So we see a Valda come down. We see Bumpsy comes down. Would make your opponent lose an Ember if your opponent had any Ember, which it doesn't. Although we do see Mighty Javelin used to take out Nexus. And then, of course, he gains an Ember there because of the Loot the Bodies. Enemy creatures destroyed. You gain an Ember. Okay. So, you know, he's got a couple there from some of the cards he's played, like Mighty Javelin. So, not a bad start here. Not a bad start from Dan at all. Got himself 3 Embers, got a really, really nice artifact. I mean, that Iron Obelisk at the moment is not doing anything, but as soon as he gets some damage down on Brobnar, it's going to be great. It only adds for damaged Brobnar creatures, mind you. Now, it looks like we've got a Neurosiphon coming down. Siphon. Your opponent has more Ember than you do, steal 1 and draw a card. Yeah, that works. And he got an Ember for actually playing it. Oh, now we see a Wild Wormhole. Gives you an Ember, lets you play the top card of your deck. It's another Dodger. Comes in exhausted, obviously, as all creatures do. Still not much of a board presence for Neil, but he's actually managed to... Well, it looks 4 to 3. It's not wonderfully clear from the counters, but it looks like Dan is ahead 4 to 3. What Dan really needs to do is get some damage on his Brobnar creatures to really make the most of Iron Obelisk here. Of course, if the only creature Neil's got is that 5-power Dodger, that's going to be a bit of a pain. Little bit of a pain. Now, we do see Twin Bolt Emission coming down here, and now that's going to actually damage Valda and Bumpsy. So now Neil's paying 8 to forge a key. He needs to have a plan to get rid of them, because just damaging them when there's an Iron Obelisk down is not always the safest play, if I'm honest with you, ladies and gentlemen. It's not always the safest play, because you end up just having to pay more. It's basically getting rid of 2 Ember. That Twin Bolt Emission might have gained him an Ember, but for as long as the Iron Obelisk and both of those creatures are down, with damage on, it's actually losing him 2 Ember. Maybe he's got a way to get rid of it. That would be nice. That would be nice. So over to Dan now. He's got some decent stuff going on. Looks like he's just going to reap with Valda there. Gets himself up to what looks like 5 Ember. Then reaping with Bumpsy will put him up to 6 Ember. So it looks like he's actually in a position to forge next turn. Oh, and he puts down a gang of Chieftain, which allows him to ready and fight with a friendly creature. Does it with Bumsy, takes Dodger off the field. Of course, that does mean that Iron Obelisk is now only costing 1 more for Neil to go ahead and start forging some keys. An Iron Obelisk is a very important thing for as long as it's down. Oh, Mermoot comes down. That is going to increase the cost of forging by 1. So if Dan does have exactly 6 Ember, as we think he does, that is going to mean that he's not going to be forging at the beginning of his turn. Now, there is also a Halicore coming down, gives each friendly flank creature skirmish, which means they can attack without taking any damage in return. Or when a Mimicry comes down here, but I'm not 100% sure what it is he's actually copying. Now, it could be Relentless Assault that lets you ready and fight with up to 3 different friendly creatures. Looks like he's copied Relentless Assault here. Oh, and he actually did put it on top of the deck, so yes, it is. Now, we can only fight with 2 because he's only got 2, but he's taken out Lady Maxina. He's got Valda up to 5 damage. Neil's doing a decent job here of, well, just holding Dan back. Oh, here's a nice one. Nocturnal Maneuver. It actually exhausts your opponent's creatures. Oh, and a regrowth here is going to get one of his creatures back. Remember that when you exhaust your opponent's creatures on your turn, they're exhausted going into their turn, because it is at the end of your turn that you get to ready your creatures. Oh, and he's actually dropping a key charge mid-turn. I told you we might see this, and we do. Key charge comes down, and now Dan takes a 1 key to 0 lead. Very nice indeed. Of course, your opponent cannot stop you forging a key on their turn if you forge it in the middle of yours, which of course we did see last time with the whole Mermook. Interestingly enough, key charge basically lets you forge at +1 cost. You got to lose 1 and then forge at current cost, but it's the same thing. So it's essentially the same as forging regularly with a Mermook. Now, Relentless Whispers will take out Valda, but Dan just got rid of all of his Ember, so there isn't one to steal there. And now we just see a Dusk Runner coming down. It's an upgrade. Looks like it's going on Mermook. When you reap, you steal an Ember. Not too bad. I mean, Mermook looking like a real threat here at the moment. Increasing your cost of forging. Able to steal an Ember when it reaps. Mermook is looking like a bit of a pain in the neck right now. It's the kind of thing you don't really want out. Mermook's looking annoying. Hey-ho. He'll take him down eventually. The Mermook does obviously have Skirmish. It doesn't have Elusive, so we're going to be all right. Oh, Dust Pixie comes down there, gets him a pair of Ember. That's nice. He does not have Full Moon or Hunting Witch in his deck. No, I'm lying to you. That's his opponent. He does have Full Moon. Shame he couldn't get it down at the same time. He is able to use Nature's Call to get some creatures back to hand, including his own Dust Pixie, which he uses to gain another 2 Ember. So straight away, he's actually got himself up to 5 Ember there, which is really quite nice. Now, Halicore and Mermook come straight back down again, as does a Hunting Witch, as does a Snufflegator. Obligatory reference to it's my favourite creature in the game, design-wise. Unfortunately, they're all being played from the hand. They all come into play exhausted. So although Neil's got all of them down, and that's lovely, it's not actually helping him all that much at the moment. It means he's potentially building up for a really nice Untamed turn in the future, but unfortunately he's not going to have a nice Untamed turn now. Remember, with the Halicore, both Halicore and Snufflegator have Skirmish, but of course, Snufflegator already has Skirmish, so I suppose Snufflegator's got double Skirmish now? I would like to have seen something like Mermook come down onto the flank there, just to give it skirmish instead. So it looks like Gang of Chieftains going to reap to go and grab an ember here. So we've got another Brobnar turn. A lot of Brobnar turns. Now we get a War Drummer, which picks up the Gang of Chieftain. And I think it might be coming straight back down again. Now here comes a Bumpsy, just makes your opponent lose an ember. So probably no forging for Neil next turn now. And Dan is looking to take a 2-key to nothing lead here. Is there anything else coming down? Does he have any other Brobnar creatures? Yes, I thought he had a Gang of Chieftain. So that lets him ready and fight with Bumpsy. And of course he takes out Hunting Witch. No, Witch of the Eye. Too many witches. Witch of the Eye lets you grab a card out of your discard when you reap. It's amazing. But also he's now got a damaged creature. Oh, this one's quite nice. Now he's just getting a whole bunch of damage down on the field. And this is really, really nice. This is really, really nice. Now, this is Hebe the Huge, incidentally. Hebe the Huge, when it comes into play, you deal 2 damage to each undamaged creature. And now he's actually got 3 Brobnar creatures that are damaged, plus Hebe the Huge. With that Iron Obelisk, it means that Neil's currently paying 9 to forge a key. That's a lot. Iron Obelisk doesn't always stick on the field, and Iron Obelisk doesn't always do too much. But on turns where you can get it on the field and get some damaged Brobnar creatures, it can really change the momentum of the game. Now we do see a Logos turn here. Dexter comes down to capture an Ember. Ganymede Archivist comes down as well, and I believe that's a Valiant Analyst on the end. Plus a Lab Work. Lab Work just lets you archive a card. It's very nice. So a real board position turn there from Neil, just getting a lot of creatures down. Now he's got 3 Untamed creatures, 3 Logos creatures. So now he's got 2 different houses where he's got lots on the board that he can try and use, which is lovely. Not forged a key yet, unfortunately. Now, it looks like he's got 5 or 6 Ember. Ooh, Whispering Reliquary comes down, and a Sigil of Brotherhood. Sigil of Brotherhood, incidentally, is an artifact with an Omni ability. You can sacrifice it on any turn you like, and then you can use your Sanctum creatures. Along those lines, Commander Ramiel comes down. And it looks like we have Inspiration as well, which lets you ready and use a friendly creature. And it looks like he's choosing Hebe the Huge here. And he's just going to use Hebe the Huge to go and take out that Mermook. Of course, the Mermook also had the Dusk Runner upgrade on. So that Mermook really was a pain in the neck at this stage. It was one you wanted to get rid of. And sure, Hebe the Huge takes 3 damage, but that's fine. Hebe the Huge is, as the name might suggest, a rather sizable chap. And that means that he can afford to take that 3 damage. And it's really not the end of the world. So this is nice. Dan really is putting a foothold on this game. Getting a foothold in this game, I should say. Or putting his foot down on this game. Either would be fine. They've both got 5 creatures out. But Dan's also sitting there with really good artifacts. One of which has an Omni ability. Although we need some more Sanctum creatures down to really make best use of it. And he's already forged 1 key. And it looks like he's got 7 Ember down. Oh, there comes Effervescent Principle. That's going to lose him 3 of them. Effervescent Principle is one of these emergency stop forging cards. Like I showed you in a video the other day. I'll pop a link to that one in the description if I remember. And essentially, yeah, it makes each player lose half their Ember, rounding down. That's a bit of an issue here for Dan, because it means Dan loses 3 of his 7 Ember. Whoopsie-doodle, ladies and gentlemen. Whoopsie-doodle. Now, Valiant Analyst, it looks like, is being used to take out Bumpsy there. Still got +3 on the forging. And I'm looking at Neil's deck list at the beginning of the game. He's got Nexus, which can copy an artifact, but he really needs to get rid of an artifact. Now, looks like Ganymede Archivist is taking out Hebe the Huge here. And, okay. So it really does look like we're just going, I'm just taking out creatures. I'm just taking out creatures. Neil's plan that turn was, I'm just going to get rid of a whole bunch of your creatures. And he's done it at the expense of a bunch of his. But remember, those damaged Brobnar creatures, as I keep saying, are huge. Oh, Blinding Light comes down. Choose a house, stun each creature of the house. He's gone for Untamed. Speaking of which, Neil, not loving the ember counters, but all the other counters here are super clear, and I love it. Makes me very happy indeed. So, we got 2 stunned creatures. He's got a chain. He's still not forged a key. It doesn't look like he stopped Dan forging at the moment. There's no Mermook on the field. Oh. Has he played a miasma? Maybe. As it stands at the moment, we're seeing Whispering Reliquary come down, and we're using Sigil of Brotherhood, and... Or did he use Sigil of Brotherhood? Sigil of Brotherhood is a sacrifice. He should have sacrificed it to use it. It looked like he turned it then. If he did turn it, he should have sacrificed it. This is a very fast game. It's not always easy to commentate. But we do see here that War Drummer does go down to a Relentless Whispers. Also lets you steal an Ember, which is always nice. Now, did we see... Did Neil forge a key there? It's Neil's turn. I believe he should have forged a key. He certainly got a lot of Ember. Now, he's playing Ghostly Hand, which is very nice. Or is that his way of denoting that he has forged a key? That he's just left a 6 Ember on it? That would be very confusing. Now, he does get to 0 chains again, which is rather nice. But I am slightly confused why Neil has so much Ember and didn't go and forge a key. Miasma is not played in Dan's deck. It is played in Neil's deck, incidentally, but it's not played in Dan's deck. It is one of the awkward things about Keyforge. You have to keep remembering to actually forge keys at the beginning of your turn. I might have missed something. It can be very, very easy. There's so much going on. So, Mimicry comes down. He gets to use whichever card he wants. Oh, and it looks like he's gone Effervescent Principle. Get rid of half his opponent's Ember. So that's quite nice. That's a fun thing to do. So, Mimicry's a good card. I played against a friend with Mimicry the other day. He played Bait and Switch and then used Mimicry to copy my Bait and Switch. It was very annoying. Now, we do see both Kindred Longshot and Dust Pixie coming down, getting a couple of Ember. That's always nice. And Grasping Vines, which will return an artifact to your opponent's hand, or would if your opponent had any artifacts, which it doesn't. And then we see some fighting going on. Now, Moon Cursor does take it with it, because Moon Cursor has got poison. If Moon Cursor deals any damage, i.e. the creature it's fighting doesn't have Skirmish or Elusive, whichever one's relevant, then it will take the KO straight away. So now we see Dexter coming down, captures an Ember. We've still only actually got 1 key forged here, which is not much. Now we do see Neutron Shark coming down. Neutron Shark, do-do-do-do-do-do, you're welcome. I never know how I feel about Neutron Shark. It can be really awkward. Now Kindred Longshot does take down Snufflegator here. Sorry, no, it doesn't. Neutron Shark takes it down. Neutron Shark, when you play, fight, or reap, you destroy an enemy creature or artifact, and a friendly creature or artifact. You then discard the top card of your deck, and if it's not a Logos card, you do it again. Which is why so many creatures are leaving here. Oh, that was devastating to Dan's side of the field. He lost a lot there, ladies and gentlemen. He lost a lot there. And he's not got enough Ember to forge right now. Now, he does have a bump, so he makes your opponent lose an Ember when you play it. That's always kind of fun. And it looks like... Oh, more Ember capturing coming on. Oh, we've gone back down to bad resolution, though, which is a little bit sad. Incidentally, I believe that was Unguarded Camp. For each creature you have in excess of your opponent, a friendly creature captures 1 ember. But you can only have 1 ember per creature. And with 2 creatures to its opponent's 1, it works nicely. Now, Wild Wormhole comes down, gets an ember, lets you play the top card of your deck, which is a Dexter, which captures an ember, which is quite nice. A couple of Dexter now on his side of the board. Incidentally, does only have 2 in his deck. So a real back and forth here of just stopping your opponent. Almost forging a key. Now you don't have enough ember. Getting a big lot of stuff coming in. Now it's gone away. Now, we do see a second Nocturnal maneuver here. Dan does have 2 in his deck. Gets an ember bonus, exhausts the creatures like we talked about earlier. And I believe that's Nepenthe Seed coming down. On the ability, you can sacrifice it and grab a card back from your discard pile. No library access, unfortunately, though. Both players do have Nepenthe Seed in their deck. Neither player has a library access. So that's not going to be coming out anytime soon. Looks like we have an there we go, that's a bit better. So Neil here gets a Briar Grubbing down and gets his own Nepenthe Seed, as well as Save the Pack. Now, Save the Pack destroys each damaged creature and gains a chain. There are no damaged creatures on the board. Hey-ho. So I believe that was actually a discard from the hand, not a play. So all of his creatures now become active, and he's ready to go. But it looks like Dan's got enough ember to forge his second key here, and he's taking a 2-key to 0 lead. This is nice for Dan. And they're both playing Untamed. Untamed's got a bunch of stuff about it. It's quite good at cheeky damage. It's got lots of creatures with skirmish. But I think for me, when I think about Untamed, the overriding theme of Untamed is crazy ember generation. I mean, they've got both Full Moon and Hunting Witch, both of which let you get an extra ember when you play a creature. Not to mention Dust Pixie, which just gives you 2 ember. We've seen Dan drop a couple of them already. And you could just really start generating ember very, very quickly. Not in every Untamed list, of course, but in a bunch. In a few of them. So, Dan here is looking through his discard pile. There are decisions to be made. Looks like he's using his Nepenthe Seed, which is going to allow him to get any card back from his discard. Kind of has to do it quite quickly, because when he runs out of his deck, which is going to be very soon, he's then going to not have a discard pile anymore because it'll become his deck. Now, he's actually doing a great thing here. He's using Dust Pixie to reap. He's then going to play Full Moon, which is one of those cards I said gets you an ember every time you play a creature. Then he's going to play Nature's Call to pick up his Dust Pixie and make his opponent pick up a creature. Then he's going to play it back down again to get 3 ember, 2 from just playing it normally, and 1 for the Full Moon. And I just told you, I just finished telling you about Untamed's theme of crazy ember generation here. And we're seeing it. He's only just forged a key, and it looks like he's going up to 8 ember. Now, it does look like Neil is going to get his deck back as his discard pile, or discard pile back as his deck soon, but he needs to draw that Effervescent Principle, or even better, Bait and Switch. And he's got 2 of these cards. He's got 2 emergency stop forging cards. But that's what he needs right now. Of course, you'll notice he does have an Nepenthe Seed on the board. And the Nepenthe Seed, like we just said, has that Omni ability. You sacrifice it, and you get any card back from your discard pile. So, he plays Bait and Switch. Oh, but I don't know if Bait and Switch would do enough. Looks like he's got 5 ember, which would give him 7 and Dan 6. It wouldn't be quite enough. So he would have to use Effervescent Principle here. Yeah, there we go. That will drop Dan down to 4 ember and will stop him forging. As fun as Bait and Switch would have been, he would have then had to take away 1 more ember and it just wouldn't have worked. Although Dexter would have done it, incidentally. But then again, you can't play Bait and Switch and Dexter. So he's got both the Dexter in his hand. I believe that's because of the Nature's Call from last turn. And then with the Effervescent Principle, he's doing it, but he still hasn't forged a key. And that's a huge problem. There's no keys being forged. It's just not happening. There's no keys coming, ladies and gentlemen. There's no keys. He needs this. It's very difficult. Incidentally, effervescent printable does give you a chain. That's how he keeps getting the chain. Now, we do see a... Is that a Gorm of Orm? Yeah. Sacrifice Gorm of Orm, destroy an artifact. And it looks like we see a Shield of Justice coming down here. Means each friendly creature cannot be dealt damage for the rest of the turn. Now a Sequest comes down. When you reap, you capture an ember, so that's quite good. It's not going to do very much for him right this second, but it is going to be good on subsequent turns. The real question is, can he just get enough ember? I'm a big fan when playing Keyforge of just, if you can build up a lead, like Dan's got here, 2 keys to 0, just rush ember. Just try and generate as much ember as you can, as fast as you possibly can, just to try and get that 3rd key while your opponent's not doing very much. So a Briar Grubbing here does have a Way of the Bear, it looks like. Way of the Wolf, which gives it Skirmish. With Halakor and Way of the Wolf, there's a couple different ways that Neil can give his creatures Skirmish, which is quite nice. Still not forging a key, though. He really needs to get a key forged sooner rather than later. You know, at the risk of sounding somewhat obvious, the name of the game is literally Keyforge. The goal of the game is to forge keys. And that is not what Neil is doing right now. And he's had some really good turns stopping Dan. He's gotten rid of a bunch of creatures. He's gotten rid of some artifacts. That Neutron Shark turn was awesome. Got rid of so much stuff. But as it stands at the moment, all Neil's done is just frustrate Dan a little, but not enough. Dan's still got 2 keys forged. And we're sitting here at the moment and I'm going, I don't see what Neil's doing here to win this game. Now Sequest now is ready and it captures an ember, which is nice. Plus Dan gets an ember for the reaping. Now Dan's on 5 as it stands, and there's no Murmook down or any of that rubbish. So as it stands at the moment, Dan just needs a couple more ember. Now, it looks like that's that card we saw earlier, Inspiration. Lets you ready and use a friendly creature. And is he attacking with that one? I think he might be. Oh, so that he can use Cleansing Wave, heal 1 damage from each creature, gain 1 ember for each creature healed this way. I wondered why he wouldn't be reaping with it. And it's because Cleansing Wave just got him more ember. And it looks like Dan's listening to me, even though this happened like a week before I recorded it. And Neil goes, no, I have no way to stop you forging a key next turn. You've got enough. And Dan takes a fairly commanding lead and a fairly commanding win. Neil had some good stuff going on. And Neil did a very good job in terms of frustrating Dan at points in that game. But he never got keys forged himself, and unfortunately, if all you ever do is stop your opponent, sooner or later, you're going to end up having to let your opponent get something going on. So congratulations to Dan, commiserations to Neil, huge thank you to Cascade Games, and for those of you that have been messaging me asking, and there have been a few of you, thank you. You guys rock. You made me feel very nice about myself. I'm going to be doing all of the rounds over the next few days, so make sure you're subscribed to grab them all. And then, of course, tell me what you think about this game in the comment section. Go nuts, be nice. And then make sure you like this video and follow me on Twitter at the Wossy, where we talk about games like Keyforge and a bunch of others. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching Wossy Plays.